Today, I would like to talk about something that has been an interest of mine for years. And what is this interest? It's figuring out who the real Gnostic Sophia is. In case you didn't know, there are several versions of Christianity. One version of Christianity is Gnostic Christianity, and I view this version of Christianity as being pagan. If you read any Gnostic text, then you would understand why. Sophia is a goddess within this version of Christianity. She is the female counterpart to the main god. Biblical Christians will tell you that Sophia is heresy, even though she's in the Bible. She's in the Old Testament and the New Testament. She is looked upon favorably because she's the personification of divine wisdom, although she isn't viewed as a goddess in the Bible. But that's why I wanted to make this video. What if she is a goddess that predates Christianity and Judaism? Who would she be? The Bible has dozens of different gods in it. This is the case with both the New Testament and the Old Testament. Most of the gods in the Bible were popular among the people. They had a lot of people that venerated and worshiped them. If a god doesn't have many followers, then it becomes easier to stamp them out. It becomes easier to erase their existence. But you cannot do this with gods that are popular among the people. It takes more effort to erase the existence of popular gods, so the biblical authors found a loophole. They would take the popular ones that they had a problem with, and they would weaken them. In some cases, they would have their god absorb the powers of some of them. But there's an elephant in the room that nobody talks about. The elephant is that the dozens of named gods in the Bible were deities that were venerated by people. And what is Sophia? I know I'm going to shock some people with this, but Sophia is also a name. I want to propose the idea that Sophia was a goddess that got weakened by the biblical authors. Of course, Sophia might not have been her original name, because we do know that Sophia is the ancient Greek term for wisdom. And there is a case to be made that there's nothing more to this story. But where would the fun in that be? Let's go down the rabbit hole instead, shall we? The first time we see Sophia is in the book of Proverbs. The book of Proverbs was written between 970 BC and 700 BC, although there are some modern scholars that believe it could have been edited in the 4th century BC as well. Either way, it doesn't matter much. Sophia likely entered the chat during a time when the Israelites were polytheists. It's also important to note that the Israelites were not Hellenized until the late 4th century BCE. This means that we shouldn't assume that the Sophia in Proverbs is the Greek Sophia. We also shouldn't assume that Sophia is Athena, because there's a strong case to be made that she is. What I want to do is take a look at the other options available. The first and strongest Greek option is Metis. She is a Greek goddess, the first wife of Zeus and the mother to Athena. She represents wisdom, intelligence, planning, and cunning. I think she is a good candidate for being Sophia, but the problem is that she is Greek. It is unclear how close the Greeks and ancient Israelites were in the 10th century BCE. Metis would be more viable if Sophia was written after Hesiod's Theogony was written in the 700s BC. The Egyptian goddess Isis is also a strong option for being Sophia. The ancient Israelites had close ties to the Egyptians, so an Egyptian god makes sense, especially an Egyptian god that does not appear in the Bible. However, there is a much stronger Egyptian option. The Egyptian goddess Neith fits Sophia better than the other options that I could find. She represents creation, wisdom, hunting, warfare, weaving, and primordial existence. Sophia has creation powers and is considered to be a primordial existence. Neith was first worshipped around 3600 BC, so she's an ancient goddess. There is a character in the book of Genesis, chapter 41, named Asenath. This name translates to "she belongs to Neith." This means that there is an indirect reference to her in the Bible, but not a direct reference to her, which would free up Neith to be Sophia. The same could be said for the Egyptian goddess Ma'at, who is also similar to Neith. Is not in the Bible, existed before humans, and participated in creation. Critical biblical scholars will argue that Sophia could have been influenced by previous goddesses in the region. But what if she wasn't? What if there was an actual goddess named Sophia that got lost to time? After all, the named gods mentioned in the Bible were suppressed, but they were still deities that were venerated and worshipped in the ancient world. Why would Sophia be any different? Why couldn't she be a goddess that people used to venerate somewhere? There could be thousands of gods that were venerated in the past and have been lost to time. Just take a look at pre-Islamic Arabia. We know of a pagan god named Allah that was venerated in the region. And this version of Allah had 3 daughters: Al-Lat, Al-Uzza, and Manat. If he had daughters, then it is safe to assume that he had a wife. But we don't know who that wife is, and it's unlikely that the pre-Islamic Arabia only venerated 4 gods, which means there's likely dozens or hundreds of gods that could be lost to time. The same could be said for the Germanic and Norse pantheons. The vast majority of biblical scholars think Sophia could have been influenced by earlier goddesses in the region, but I stand with the minority that thinks there might have been a goddess named Sophia at some point in the past. There's no definitive proof either way, but I think there have been hundreds of gods that have been lost to time. Thanks for listening. Have a fantastic day or night.